Imagine knowing the exact moment your life will end, and yet you still have the chance to choose your final meal. For some female killers, that choice is simple: a plate of comfort, something familiar. For others, it's a reflection of who they were, their desires, or perhaps their remorse. What do you order when you're about to face the ultimate consequence? In this video, we explore the last meals of female killers, from healthy salads to greasy fast food, and what their final requests tell us about them. Are you a returning subscriber or a new viewer? Either way, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on our latest content. Now let's dive into the story. Dovie Dean. Known as the woman who couldn't cry, she was sentenced to death in 1954 for poisoning her husband with rat poison. Her crime was cold, calculated, and horrifying. Yet when it came time for her final meal, she requested something simple: roast chicken, coconut pie, angel food cake, and black coffee. A modest choice perhaps, but one that spoke to a strange, quiet calm in her final moments. Elizabeth Duncan. Executed in 1962. She was the last woman to be put to death before the US Supreme Court ruled the death penalty unconstitutional. Convicted of plotting to murder her daughter-in-law, Duncan's final meal was simple but telling: a steak and salad. No indulgence, no comfort food, just a quiet meal, perhaps reflecting the calmness she sought in her final moments. Betty Butler, executed in 1954, was sentenced to death for the brutal murder of a woman she claimed had made sexual advances toward her. Her last meal was a curious choice: scrambled eggs with cheese, toast, 2 glasses of milk, and a bowl of apricots. A seemingly innocent and simple request, perhaps masking the complexity of her final moments, or a reflection of a woman still clinging to the normalcy she once knew. Rhonda Bell Martin. Executed in 1957, she was a woman whose crimes were chilling in their scope, guilty of killing her mother, 2 husbands, and 3 children. Her final meal was a mix of comfort and indulgence: a hamburger, mashed potatoes, cinnamon rolls, and coffee. It was a choice that mirrored the strange and dark nature of her life, perhaps a final moment of familiarity before the inevitable end. Judy Buenoano, known as the Black Widow, was convicted for the murders of her husband, son, and fiancé, orchestrating their deaths for financial gain. Her crimes were cold and calculated, but her final meal stood in stark contrast: asparagus, strawberries, broccoli, tomatoes, and hot tea. A healthy, almost serene choice. Perhaps a final attempt at peace before her execution, a stark reminder of the duality of her life. Velma Barfield. The first woman to be executed after the death penalty was reinstated in 1976, was a serial killer who confessed to murdering 6 individuals. Her crime was methodical, her actions chilling. Yet, when it came to her final meal, Barfield made a simple request: cheese doodles and a Coke. A modest, almost childlike choice, perhaps reflecting a final moment of simplicity in a life marked by darkness. Christina Marie Riggs was executed in Arkansas in 2000 for killing her 2 young children. She was the first woman put to death in that state since 1845. The crime shocked the nation, not just for its brutality, but because it came from a mother. In her final hours, Riggs requested a full spread: supreme pizza, a salad, fried okra, cherry limeade, and strawberry shortcake. A meal that felt more like a family dinner than a last request: quiet, heavy, and final. Lois Nadine Smith. She was put to death in Oklahoma in 2001 for the brutal murder of her son's ex-girlfriend. Here was the woman who choked her victim, stabbed her, shot her 9 times, then stomped on her neck. In her final hours, Smith requested barbecue ribs, onion rings, strawberry banana cake, and cherry limeade. A bold, indulgent choice that echoed the chaos and violence of her crime. Marilyn K. Plants. Kay was executed in Oklahoma in 2001 for orchestrating the murder of her husband to collect insurance money. She was the woman who convinced 2 young men to carry out the killing while she stayed behind. In her final hours, Plants requested a Tex-Mex feast: chicken taco salad, Mexican pizza, 2 soft chicken tacos, 2 cinnamon twists, a pecan pie, and 2 cans of Coke. A full, layered meal that mirrored the manipulation and planning behind her crime. Wanda Jean Allen. She was executed in Oklahoma in 2001 for the murder of her ex-girlfriend. She was the woman whose case stirred debate due to her low IQ and troubled background. In the end, her final meal was surprisingly minimal. A simple bag of chips. No feast, no comfort. Just a small, quiet choice in the shadow of death. Aileen Wuornos. This is the one of the famous and unforgettable killer executed in Florida in 2002. After being convicted of killing 7 men, she was the woman whose life spiraled from abuse and survival to violence and infamy. In her final hours, Wuornos declined a last meal and chose only a cup of black coffee, a stark, solitary choice that matched the hardened image she carried to the very end. Teresa Lewis. She was executed in Virginia in 2010 for arranging the murders of her husband and stepson to claim insurance money. A total selfishness, or what could we call that? She was the woman whose low IQ and vulnerability raised national concern, yet the execution moved forward. For her final meal, Lewis requested 2 fried chicken breasts, sweet peas, a German chocolate cake, and a Dr. Pepper, a Southern-style comfort meal, heavy with sweetness, in contrast to the bitterness that followed her choices. Linda Lyon Block. She was put to death in Alabama in 2002 for her role in the 1983 murder of police officer William Frazier. Block, along with her husband, was involved in a robbery at a convenience store. When Officer Frazier arrived at the scene, they shot him, and Block later admitted to firing the fatal shot. The murder was senseless and brutal, leaving a community in shock. For her final meal, Block requested lobster tail, shrimp, and a baked potato, a stark contrast to the violence she had caused. Suzanne Margaret Basso. Executed in Texas in 2014 for the murder of Louis Buddy Musso, an elderly man she had befriended in order to rob him. Along with several accomplices, Basso tortured Musso for days before taking his life. The brutality of her crime was chilling. In her final hours, Basso requested fried chicken, mashed potatoes with gravy, and iced tea, a simple, modest meal that stood in stark contrast to the violence she had committed. Lisa Ann Coleman. This woman murdered her girlfriend's 9-year-old son, Devontae Williams. She had tortured and starved the child, ultimately leading to his death. The cruelty of her crime was both heart-wrenching and horrifying, and she was executed in Texas in 2014. For her final meal, Coleman requested a cheeseburger, fries, and a soft drink, a simple, familiar meal, in stark contrast to the suffering she inflicted on a young boy. If you'd like to learn more about any of these individual cases, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on our latest videos. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.